what we are currently seeing on YouTube and basically all across Twitter right now is probably the most difficult and most destructive ban wave we've ever had since YouTube history. And one thing's for sure, it's most likely going to get even worse. And if you just go on Twitter, just to give you guys a scale of what's actually happening right now, if you look up inauthentic content demonetization, you will come across hundreds, if not even thousands of tweets every fucking day of people losing their AdSense revenue, getting their money taken, getting their channels demonetized, or even terminated altogether. And it doesn't really seem to get any better. And also, it doesn't seem like there's any person who knows what's going on or who even got answers and tells you how to save your channels and what you can actually do against it. So that's why I make this video today, because I think I actually found a solution and I wanted to share it with you guys. I'm using it for about 2 weeks now. And for me, at least, I didn't encounter any problems with demonetization or terminations since I adapted that system. And I'm going to show you the system in today's video. It's going to be a fucking ton of value. And yeah, just before we get into all of this, I mean, you can see already there's a lot of stuff planned for today. And I can promise you, you won't regret watching that video, especially if you are in the AI stories or revenge niche, since these are typically the two types of niches that are getting the most affected by these recent policy changes. And these are the channels who are getting demonetized the most. So this video is mainly about that. But of course, you could adapt it to every other niche too. It's just about that general information that I want to give out. And first of all, there's a big misconception. Like, it has nothing to do with AI. Whoever tells you that, he's stupid. He has no idea about YouTube at all, because YouTube has never and most likely won't ever go against AI content or against the use of AI in general. I mean, they use Gemini themselves for copyright detection under your videos. Like, if you upload a video and you really think that they just know how you use copyright music and stuff like that, no, they use Gemini. It's an AI and it scans your videos and finds these lyrics, finds these melodies, and matches it to a database. And yeah, they use AI themselves, so they are really not against AI or the use of AI. But there were hints, and these hints were clear. Like, you might remember that repetitive or original content policy, that were the first hints or warning signals, if you want, that this purge is coming. And we basically just ignored it. And I think that's also why this purge was needed, because, or actually, I'm gonna tell you about that later in this video, because I don't want to go in this direction yet. So first of all, why would you even trust me, right? I mean, you've never seen my face. First video on this channel, 0 subscribers. Why would you even trust me and believe what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't want to brag. See, I really don't want to brag or anything, but I'm making enough money trading. I do run a lot of YouTube channels, automated and non-automated, like using regular editors. And feel free to look up every single one of these channels. I mean, 1 or 2 of them maybe have actual different names by now, but I'm not actually stressing. I can leak those channels. I'm not actively posting on them anyway. So just look them up, look at the stats. You will see that I'm telling the truth. So let's get that out of the side right now. First of all, as I said before, I'm doing revenge channels too, and this is mainly what this video will be about. And I haven't had any problems since I adapted the system that I'm gonna show you today. It could be just luck. I'm gonna be completely transparent with you. It could be just luck, but the scale I'm running these channels in, to me, it just doesn't seem like luck, right? I mean, for me, it's just more like of a proof that my concept is actually working. And I think you are going to understand that too after watching this video, because it really makes sense if you put it all together. Yeah, where do we start? Like, first of all, the slop is not the problem, right? It's the creators that doing what works, which is the problem. And I'm going to explain that now. The reason why non-YouTube people call it slop, like AI slop, is because they come for entertainment. And usually those videos, like the revenge stories, are not aimed at these people. For these niches, you have to know it's more about doing less than too much. There's no need for fancy editing. There's no need for leveling up the content quality, because these niches have a complete different structure of their content, right? They are aimed at older generations, older people, and they do not have the attention span of monkey or rabbit, right? They are actually cool with sitting in front of the TV watching a video for 1 hour. And this is exactly what those videos are about. So non-YouTube people call it slop because it's just not made for them. And of course, it looks low quality, and it actually is, but it's enough and it works. And that's why people are making it, and that's why people are making money with it. So much for that. And yeah, now we are actually getting into the value part of this video. First of all, one big misconception is that a lot of people fall for the trap. Like, with all those changes YouTube has made during the past months and weeks, it's really it hasn't gotten harder to join the YPP, right? I mean, you could still join the partner program and have no problems. It's still easy. But the actual hard part is to stay into that program and not get kicked out and demonetized. And that's what many people don't seem to get. Actually, there's somebody going onto the toilet right now. That's crazy. So, however, it's really not about joining, it's more about staying in the program, which is hard. And therefore, you need to understand the policies first. I've went through all of the policies multiple times, let them analyze by cloud, put my own source to it if you want. And as I said before, I think I came up with a solution that's based on all of these policies, which are basically now all combined into the inauthentic content policy. And yeah, that's basically, in my opinion, the only like way you could even try to come around all those policies, if you actually read them and understand them and then adapt your content to it. And yeah, one thing before we actually start talking about what you can adapt and how the landscape of AI revenge channels will eventually evolve, is that this is not everything, right? I mean, you could theoretically just read the policies and know what you're doing, but then there's also this. And this is actually a screenshot from my channel. As you can see, it's not for inauthentic content, it's for harmful content involving minors. And I'm pretty sure it was actually this channel who got me into trouble. If you look up the channel, you will understand why, but I'm not gonna explain it in this video. What I want to take you from it is that I got demonetized for harmful content involving minors. And 1 week later, another channel that ran with the same IP on my same device got demonetized too. And this is new. This has never happened before. This is a change that YouTube has made very recently, and it falls under the circumvention policy. They rolled it out in July 2025. And what it basically says is that if you basically get demonetized for any reason on one of your channels, all the other channels you're running are in danger of getting demonetized too. And as you can see, it's working. They actually do it. It's not just a phrase they put up, they are actually doing it. So don't be stupid, secure your channels. And it's really not that hard. Like, there's 2 steps to it, as you're gonna see. But the first and most easy one is to just buy a proxy and bind your channel to it. Then, of course, you would also need an anti-detect browser. I mean, it's optional, you don't have to do it. But with these 2 changes alone, I would say like 60 or 70% you're safe already, because they track you by your IP, your browser cookies, and address, name, company name, stuff like that. They know everything about you. Google is the biggest fucking company out there. They know everything about you. And trust me, they will find you. You can't come around this. You will need to have that if you're running multiple channels. There's no way around it. And also, unfortunately, that's not enough. if you really want to scale and build multiple channels, you will eventually need multiple AdSense accounts. And I think that's a topic for another video altogether, because it would just be too much for this video. But if you want me to, comment down below and I will do a video about this as well. However, what does all of this mean for us? For those who want to still post story content, who still want to make AI revenge stories, what does that mean? Is it really the end? Are they going to like ban it altogether? First of all, they can't. And second, clearly not. But we need to adapt. And if you're not ready to adapt, or if you don't want to adapt, I mean, you can have luck, you can be lucky, get around the detection systems for like 1 or 2 months at best. But eventually your luck will run out, and then you will get demonetized or even get your channel terminated. And if you want to do like that, just go for it. But I would advise you to adapt, because in my opinion, it's the only way to stay safe and continue what you're doing right now. So that brings us to the question, how can you actually adapt? What can you change? Because yeah, we're still doing revenge stories, right? We are still doing AI stories, and therefore we cannot really change the format or the structure of the video. Otherwise it won't be a story anymore, right? So that's why I made up this little graphic to make it easier for you guys to understand. The 3 pillars are based on 3 simple lessons, and for me, like for the system to work that I created, it consists of these 3 pillars. And spoiler, it's easier than you think. It actually is, but it still takes like some brain to adapt it properly and adapt your channel to it. So let's start by the references, which is something that you can start doing now, like immediately, and adapting your channel to it. And this alone won't help you that much, right? It will only make things better, like it's the tip of the iceberg if you want to. And therefore you can use references in 2 ways. First of all, there's the community-driven story format. So you basically, what you're doing, you create a link in your description and possibly even in your channel description, where viewers can send in submissions, right? Their own experiences and their own stories, which then you are going to make videos out of in this format, right? So it's the same format, it stays the same, but you are doing videos out of their stories. Of course, you aren't really doing videos out of their stories. You just add that little link so YouTube sees, all right, I mean, he uses real people's stories, so that shouldn't be the problem, right? And it's just one step, as I told you. It's just a little defense mechanism for you in case of a demonetization, that you have something to argue with. Because if you didn't already know, for the inauthentic content demonetization, you cannot just do a normal appeal video. That won't work, because you only have the chance to write a text in the written form, and that's your appeal, right? So you cannot really explain yourself like you could in a video. And yeah, let me just give you an example of what that actually could look like if implemented into your videos or in your stories. Since then you would also have to adapt your intro, your hook. An example introduction could be, welcome back to Stories of Truth. Today's story comes from Layla. She's 75 years old, who reached out to share her experience. Her own son placed her in a nursing home where secretly draining her savings. But Layla refused to give up. Through relentless research into her legal rights, she found back and eventually found justice. Her story is a powerful reminder that knowing your rights can change everything. And there you also have a little bit of educational value framing. But as I told you before, I'm going to explain that in detail in just a few minutes. And just alone, by implementing a story submission form, you can create a built-in defense for your demonetization appeals, as I told you just now. Like, then you could argue in your text appeal that these stories are submitted by real people, by real elderly community, and you just use AI narration to protect the anonymity of these persons, and that's it, basically, that's it. That's, again, AI isn't against the use of AI, right? YouTube isn't against the use of AI. They're actually embracing it. They are using it themselves. So why wouldn't you be able to do it too? And yeah, so much for that. Then there's also the second way. I told you there's two ways, and this is just optional. I mean, if you're doing the stories manually and not automating them via N8N or something else like this, then this might be for you. Because instead of using fake stories like all of those channels are doing right now, you could actually use really documented cases, which in theory would even be better, since then you have actual reference to show to YouTube. But for people like us, it's bad because you don't, first of all, have unlimited source of stories, and second, it's bad for scaling and running multiple channels in one single niche. So that's not really the golden option, right? And so much for that, for the references. Then, of course, I told you it's only the tip of the iceberg. There's also the education and value framing, and this is by far the most important one of these three pillars. Like, if you're just doing that, if you're just adapting to education and value framing, I'm pretty sure 90% of your problems are gone. 90%, the chance of you getting demonetized decreases by 90% just by adapting educational value framing. And for that, in order to understand it, you first need to ask yourself this question, like, are you entertaining with fiction, or are you teaching people something they can actually learn from? I'm pretty sure 99% of you will say you're entertaining with fiction. And that's exactly the problem, because you're not framing your stories in a way that people can even have the chance to take educational context from it, because your stories are based on fictional events, fictional theories, fictional stories that never happened, right? And just in general, this is not a problem, because it's YouTube, yeah? I mean, you could say whatever you want on it, and you are still be able to monetize that. However, in the case of revenge stories and the recent changes of policies, you kind of have to adapt this educational value thing, because otherwise your videos will just be like every other revenge video out there. And that is something you don't want to happen, because then you don't have any arguments. So if you actually implement education value framing into your videos, you will have a much bigger chance of staying into the program. And here's an example of a channel using references and also educational value. And as you can see, he's still monetized. Of course, I'm going to explain what educational value actually is and how you can implement it in a real life example of my automation. I'm going to show you that. And yeah, first of all, let's just talk about this real quick, because as you can see, I mean, you can look up this channel. I can do it too real quick, Marquee Industries. It's basically a channel that industries that just narrates normal Reddit stories and frames it like basically a normal revenge channel. It's almost the same titles, and the only thing he's doing differently than for the normal revenge channels is that he's actually showing his face during the first seconds or 1 minute of the video, I guess, yeah. And I can play it.
And holiday season so far. Anyway, we're back with some more stories from Reddit, so sit back. My wife is having an friend living a complete second life.
I mean, you see it, right? He's basically doing the same revenge stories, but in another format, like in the form of a Reddit story. And in case of this channel, the Reddit story is his reference. He's using real life examples to create the stories. And also the structure of his videos is, I think, pretty important, since you clearly see there's the story, then there's the comments, which, if you didn't know already, Reddit has like this thread system similar to Twitter, where you can then comment or receive comments by other users. And yeah, that's basically that. And then he gives the update of what happened to that person, how the story ends, and how it all played out. And this is like very important to understand, because this is what educational framing is all about in the end. It's not just presenting the story, it's also adding like this unique touch to it, which in this case would be the comments. Like, you give context of what's happening, why is it happening, and what are possible ways to get around it? And it might now seem a little bit complex, and probably you won't understand everything, but trust me, you will after I showed you my workflow and the prompts I use, because I'm gonna leak everything. Like, I don't care. I will show you everything and make sure that you can adapt that system too and not get any problems with demonetization ever again. And of course, then there's the update, and the update would be like the end of the story in our context, in which he then draws a conclusion and tells how everything played out, right? So much for that. And again, it's not about him showing himself or not using AI for the narration. It really doesn't matter. That's not the reason he's still monetized. And yeah, another good example, but I will come to that after showing you my actual workflow, because then you will understand it even better. This is a really good example of the channel who most likely will stay monetized for the next month, 100%, because after taking a look into his videos, you will understand. He implements all of those 3 pillars perfectly. Of course, the niche itself, I mean, it's the finance niche. The niche itself is very important too, because if you're just doing the normal, like my son robbed me videos, there isn't really much of an educational context you could bring in, right? Of course, you could turn it to the legal side and then explain some rights and laws, but I didn't have any experience with that. I cannot tell you if that actually works. It could. I'm gonna be honest, it could. But if you want to stay safe, choose educational topic niches. That would be the best option. And there you almost have the guarantee that you won't be demonetized, because these niches in general have more room to explain yourself and have more room for opportunities, or generally to bring in educational context and value. So now it's time to actually show you how I implemented all of this. And these 2 pillars, I mean, the third one is pretty obvious, like don't spam, but I'm gonna get to that later. Let me first of all show you what this actual educational framing looks like when implemented into a workflow. All right, I'm back now. It's 2 days later. I totally forgot it was Christmas, so I basically left and spent some time with my family last time. However, Merry Christmas to y'all, and let's just continue where we left off. So this is where all the magic happens for the educational value part, right? This is the part of the workflow that actually writes the story and plans it and everything. However, this part here, don't get confused, I won't talk about it now, but I will get to it later in the video so it makes more sense for you to understand. First off, what you need to understand is that in order for this policy right here, the similar and repetitive content, which is, as you now know, all combined into inauthentic content, YouTube doesn't want to have similar or repeated topics in all of your videos, right? So if you take a look at basically any revenge channel out there, most of the topics are just the same, right? They are recycled and then they make a new video out of them and post it on a different channel and everything. We don't want to have like these same topics. And especially, as I told you before, if you choose a niche which on its own has more room or gives you more room to create an educational context around it, you will be off much better, right? So first of all, we don't want similar content, and that's why we have this node right here, the get unused angle. It is connected to a database, which is this one here. And as you can already see, in this database, first of all, you need to understand one row is like, sorry, I need to refresh the page real quick. One row is one frame, like one video, right? And at the end of the row, you can see used, which means if one frame, one educational framing video idea is used, it will get marked as used and it won't get used again. So that ensures that we have unique topics and unique videos every single time. So let's now get into what this table actually does for us, yeah? So first of all, we have the title, which isn't the final video title, but rather just a guideline for the AI to understand later on what the video should be about, right? So for example, the title right here, the clause she slipped into every contract finally paid off. Like this would be like the basic storyline, right? Very, very basic. Then we have the story type, which is basically the like perspective the story is written out of or presented of. Then we have the educational theme, which is like the field of topic that the viewer is able to learn anything in. And then we have the 3 key lessons, which, and this is by far the most important about all of this in what you can see in this table, like the key lessons. And this is what makes a video educational. You need to include stuff, for example, I'm gonna expand this real quick. You need to include stuff that people can actually learn from. And in this case, it would be key lessons. So the character goes on its path and has like, of course, the normal storyline, and then on its way, like the character encounters problems which he eventually needs to find answers or solutions to, and that would be the key lessons. And these key lessons are orientated or based off on real life examples, like real topics people struggle with. And as you can see, always include protective clauses in employment contracts or in document verbal promises in writing. That is stuff you do also get taught in school, like if you are on a good school at least, like valuable knowledge that you can then bring into the story. And this is what forms the educational value aspect of a video. Then we also have the normal elements of every story, like the antagonist, the protagonist, the stakes, like what's on the line, what can the character win or lose, and then the setting. One important thing is that, as I told you before, you cannot just implement educational value into every niche and every story, right? Because you would still need to have this normal concept, normal structure of a story, of an AI revenge story, since the people who watch your story are still elderly people, so you cannot really just spam them with random facts and information to make it educational. Then maybe you would have an educational video, but your your AVD, your average view duration, would be horrible, because elderly people, they don't like to get taught a lot, you know. They are curious, they are coming for the nostalgic effect of entertainment of your videos, and they don't want to get bombarded with some random facts and stuff you are trying to teach them, right? So it's not only about adding in that educational value, but also about keeping that structure of a regular story still up, right? You still want to have a tension building hook, build out tension throughout the video, build a climax, and then eventually the payoff comes, the story ends with the key lessons on the way, and the solution that the character finds at the end. And it basically is a normal story, but added with educational value. And this is what it is all about. So again, this part I'm going to explain later. But what we need to focus on now is these nodes here, right? The AI agents, as I will show you the prompts in detail in just a second. But first of all, we need to go into the prepare story brief. Let me expand it real quick for you to see better. First of all, this basically, it just filters out the information of this database, and then it builds like the predefined plan for the story AI agent to later plan the story. So what's in this node is just like some information it's the same information like in this table, right? It just collects it and prepares it to give it later to this agent. So let's go into this agent now. If you want, feel free to take screenshots of the prompt. I mean, you can already see it, like you're an expert story planner specializing in educational, business, finance narratives for women. Your stories combine entertainment with real actionable knowledge about protecting oneself financially and legally. And if you know anything about AI prompting, you would have to set the setting for the AI so that he actually knows out of which context he has to write the story out of, because otherwise it would just be hallucinating. So I'm telling him exactly that he understands corporate law and governments, because this channel is in the finance niche, Just like this channel, as I showed you, like the Revenge with Karen one, he knows about all of this stuff, and your stories are empowering, not victimizing, which is usually what the normal revenge stories do. They are victimizing. They are presenting the characters as victims, like the mother that gets robbed or sent into the nursing home by her son, who just wants her money and doesn't want her in her life, right? And also another important word is strategic. Normal revenge stories aren't strategic. They are just built of tension, and they are dramatizing everything, right, in the Hollywood style. We want our story to be strategic, not reactive, because based off of strategies, you can then implement your educational value. And here again, educational without being preachy. That's very important. And also emotionally satisfying. Of course, that makes a good story, right? Like actually catching emotion. So what this agent does, as you can see, it creates detailed outlines for the next AI so that it can write the entire story. Like I'm dividing that all into chapter 1, 2, and 3. So the next AI will be able to write chapter 1, then chapter 3, and chapter 3, 2 and 3. I've also added some memory in case you are familiar with N8N, you will understand. Of course, if you want me to, I can show you that entire workflow once again in a separate video, and this one and this one and this one also. But that's not for now. I just want to explain you the concept, show you my prompts so that you can adapt it after watching this video. Sorry, I forgot to talk about this node. This is basically just a parser, right? It collects the plan and the brief and prepares it to give it to the AI. As you can see, there's a loop node. So that means chapter 1 goes in, it writes chapter 1, it's ready, chapter 2, it's ready, chapter 3. And yeah, let me show you the prompts real quick as well. So there isn't really much going on, right? It's more about making it into a compact prompt rather than doing too much, because that makes it much more complicated for the AI, and you would also have much more input tokens, which cost you more money at the end. So you really want to be effective with it. And yeah, I mean, I can read it out aloud. You are an expert fiction writer specializing in compiling educational narratives for women aged 40 to 70. You write in first-person POV with rich sensory details, natural dialogue, and strategic internal monologue. And this is very important because the internal monologue, the rich sensory details, and also like the educational narrative itself, that is what is creating that educational value based off of our planning. And the planning again consists of this table, right? All these rows. And so first of all, we have like every single video will be different topic wise and also structural wise, and also teach something different. And then also we will have like the AI agent create the story for us in a way that isn't repetitive, because the prompt is very general. So yeah, so much for that. And actually this is basically everything you need to know about implementing the educational value. I didn't show you that agent yet, but it's basically the same. Like if you know anything about quality checks, this is just checking the quality, like the quality for the TTS, like the voiceover creation later on, and length requirements, improves the section if anything lacks of tension or something like that. But this is optional. You really don't need to do it, like the redundancy check and yeah, all those technical checks. It also converts, which is, I guess, some free source for you, converts the numbers into actual words for the voiceover, because some voices cannot really it just doesn't sound good if they read out such numbers as a whole and not as a word. If you convert them numbers into a word, it sounds much better, right? So actually, let me refresh my mouth real quick. Very good coconut, by the way. Yeah, so much for that. This is basically all you need to know about the education value. And as I told you before, it's not that much, right? It's just this thing, like you need a database to have ideas in, which are already framed in education value. And yeah, then it's just the AI agent writer prompts. And I've showed you the prompts. You can now go ahead and reproduce that in that exact form. And the thing I didn't show you earlier is this one. And this is something I've actually never seen before on YouTube or basically anywhere. And I've never actually seen it implemented into a YouTube channel. So what this does is, first of all, we have another database which consists only of one thing basically. And it's this, like just a simple counter. And what this counter does, let me close that real quick again, it counts the videos, right? So if I add a trigger and start the workflow, there's one run, right? It creates one story, then it goes into the next workflow, which I'm gonna show you later. And it writes the story, it creates the video, and everything is done. I'm uploading the video, right? Then comes the second video. The same thing, it happens again. But for the third video, and this is where it gets interesting, it won't just go this path, this normal path, right, and write the story again, because it's the third video. And as you can see, it checks if it is in fact the third video. That's why we have the counter, which updates to 1, 2, and then 3. And if it is the third video, it will trigger a separate workflow. And this is something, again, nobody has showed ever before. And I think it makes a huge difference because, and let me explain it to you. See, when reviewers are going onto your channel, they are looking for some things. They look at your main theme, they look at your most viewed videos, your newest videos, and this is like the most important ones. And what does newest videos mean? I mean, they don't really state out what that means, but we can take guesses, right? I think, in my opinion, newest videos mean like the last 4, because that's the row in like your feed. It's either the recent 4 videos or the recent 3 videos. So if, and this is what this workflow does, every third video will be a complete different video. And let it just sink in for a minute, because I'm going to show it to you right now. What this workflow does is it creates a complete different video, like a complete educational based video. This has nothing to do with AI stories or revenge stories in general. I have also a table for it. As you can see, this is like the same concept of database we have right here. It's just another database that gives us ideas for videos, and out of these ideas, we are creating purely educational videos, which is just another add-on if you want to stay even more protected, like a second layer of protection if you want, in case you do get demonetized. Because in the end, we want arguments. We have the text appeal. We cannot do a video. We cannot explain and show everything. We need to explain everything in text. And therefore, you, in case of a demonetization, you could say, I'm doing educational-based videos. What else do you want from me, right? So let me show you what this video actually looks like. And yeah,
Your phone rings, you pick it up,
the video.
And in that instant, your world turns upside down. It sounds like your grandchild. They're crying, they're in trouble, and they need your help right now. Your heart is pounding. Your mind is racing. This is what scammers call a shock call. And
I think you got the hang of it, right? It's basically an educational video, purely educational, has nothing to do with AI stories, and it's just consists of stock videos. It's, I mean, let me show it to you real quick. There is this free API called Paxis, and where is it? It's here, right? And it just searches for videos according to the topic of that video, and then basically creates a slideshow of videos that fit to the topic of, for example, as you can see, where was the table again? Grandparent scam and shock calls. This is the video you basically just saw. 10 warning signs someone is financially exploiting you. How to spot a narcissist. 7 behaviors that expose them. It's general topics that still fit to the AI revenge story theme. Okay, in this case, it's not financially, but it would still fit the theme. And these are purely educational based videos. And it's just a second layer of protection because you post them every third video. So you have 2 AI stories, or even 3 if you want, and then 1 educational video. And your goal with these videos is not to make views, right? You don't want to make views. The goal is just to have more variety and basically a different looking theme. You can even go as far as creating a complete different thumbnail for those videos, like which basically doesn't look as your normal revenge thumbnails. Personally, I didn't do it, but you could do it. I mean, my thumbnails look like this if I'm doing these videos. And you can see it's like the basic setup, the text, the image on the left side, and it's structurally the same. But if you read that text, you will quickly see that this isn't your typical AI revenge story thumbnail, right? This is an explainer video, a literally tutorial. And this is just, again, an add-on to ensure that you are indeed having enough educational value on your channel. Yeah, and that also helps by creating variety. Like your content will look much more diverse and not so similar anymore. Because yeah, you are still creating most of the time stories, and they kind of are similar every single time. So much for that. And again, I think implementing these 2 changes literally are helping you to reduce the chances of getting demonetized by 90%. Easily. Then we have this part here, which is the thumbnail creation part, but it's not really important for now. The only thing you need to know, because I'm going to explain it later on, is this code node right here and this agent. Basically, if you are using an AI image model, and we are going to create story images later for our videos and then put the voiceover and everything on it. If you're using an image model that doesn't support reference images, you would need to create a character prompt, which is extremely specific and detailed, so that an AI generation model will later be able to recreate that same person or character without actually needing an image, reference image, right? So therefore we create that exact and specific and detailed prompt. Also, after that part went along and we have our final script ready, we want to create that voiceover and those story images, right? So what happens here in this node is it collects all the chapters, like chapter 1, 2, and 3, and it optimizes them even more for the voiceover. Like, ideally, you don't want to send a 20,000 character long script in one request to your voiceover website of choice, right? You still want to have smaller segments, smaller paragraphs of text. For my example, I'm doing like 2,000 characters maximum. And yeah, I'm just dividing them into smaller segments so that the voiceover quality will be better and also the processing times will be much faster. That's basically what happens here. Then it goes into a switch node, which just filters out the chapters, like chapter 1, 2, and 3. So chapter 1 will go here, chapter 2 here, and chapter 3 here. And you have to know that these sub-workflows, which are these ones, they are identical to each other. There's no difference. The only difference is that in process chapter 1 workflow, you will have this third string, if you want, and not just these 2. Why is it 2? Just for speed optimization. You could theoretically just have 1, it would work the same. I just want to have it faster, and I found out that batching doesn't really work for this page, so I've just duplicated it and slightly delayed it, and it works perfectly. However, that's not what we need to focus on. First of all, what we have here is we add an indirect index for distribution, right? So wait 1 sec, my cat wants to come in. I'll just quickly opening the door. All right, so we now have that add index for distribution part, because we want to treat that intro part, which is always chapter 1, chunk 1, like the first voiceover chunk of chapter 1, that would be the intro part, right? So we want to treat that differently because we want to have as much randomness in our video as possible. Why would we need randomness? Because the opposite of what they deceive as a template would be randomness, right? So if you are able to randomize as many factors in your video or as many elements as you possibly can, you basically terminate that template vibe that I showed you in pillar too. And this is, by the way, where we are right now, in case you didn't notice already. I guess it was my bad since I didn't really introduce it, but we are already at the avoiding template vibe, right? The educational reference we talked about and the educational framing, that is now over. That's all we had to do. So now we are at the template vibe. And we add the index, we treat that intro part separately from the rest, and just to create like this kind of randomness effect, like a structurally different intro that looks and feels different from the rest of a video. And here, for the normal even and uneven chapters, so not the intro part, we have this basic and typical order. Like we have one voiceover and we just match one image to that voiceover. It's just one image, nothing more. No transitions, nothing. It's just one image and one voiceover. This voiceover could be like 2 minutes long, and then it's just one image for these 2 minutes. What we want to do differently here is that we now have a voiceover. It's the same voiceover, just one part, 2 minutes long. We measure the duration, get our character details, and then try to create multiple prompts just for that one section. And between those images, we will then later also add transitions and other stuff. But here we will just create the images and also then render the final video snippets. We want to treat that intro part completely different. So we are actually already creating that final intro, right? And this is what happens here. We are creating the images based off the prompts we created here. I can show you that as well if you want. I mean, it's pretty optimized for the use case I am having it in. And also the image model, if you want, is a Z image. I have it actually here. And this is also what I've talked about in the beginning. Like, images are stupidly cheap, right? You can create a bunch of images for, as you can see, 0.005 cents per run. Whereas image to video models are fucking expensive, right? I mean, per second, 3 cents, almost 4 cents. And here, this is the cheapest one, by the way, I could find. And it only has 480p quality. And it still costs like almost 2 cents per second, which is incredibly fucking expensive in comparison to just image generation. And again, this is what I've mentioned in the beginning, like why people call it slop and low quality. Yeah, because it actually is. But we as creators, we are actually kind of forced to do that because there is just this image generation part. Like if we want to do videos, it would be much more expensive, and therefore we couldn't scale that much, because if you are paying like 3 cents per second for an hour-long video, you could calculate how much that would cost. It would be just way too much, right? And also, again, the audience is elderly people. We don't need to level up the content quality that much. So it just works, and that's why people do it, and including me too. Yeah, and that's basically the point about that. Again, we want to have a structurally different intro than the rest of our video. After that part is finished, after all the voiceover chunks from chapter 1, 2, and 3 are finished, it all like gets combined here. First of all, again, we get all the voiceover chunks, and then we measure the duration again for all those snippets, for those final video snippets consisting of one image for not the intro part and one audio file. And for the intro part, we have multiple images and one audio file as well. Then it gets here converted to an actual video file, which basically you don't need to understand that. Again, I can show you that in a separate video, but this would be just too much for this video. Then we merge the audio with the video file to have that final and ready to use video snippet. If all of them are ready, for example, our story consists of 30 voiceover chunks, meaning 3 chapters. Each chunk has approximately like 10 voiceover chunks, and all of those 30 chunks are ready. It would go here, and here's really where the magic happens and where you can really avoid that template vibe in the final rendering, right? So before I get into the notes, because I think you wouldn't understand the code, but you would understand text, right? So first of all, what I'm doing, and I've actually never saw that before as well, I'm wait, let me actually show it to you. I have a database which was this one, I guess, get random comments, right? And here I have a database of random comments that I've made templates for, like actual animations that I can blend into the video. And these comments aren't real, right? They aren't real. They have never commented on my channel. Still, I have like this database with those comments, and if you pay attention, these also like strong in the fact of educational value in our videos, because they, yeah, I mean, you can read them. I had no idea this law even existed. Thank you for teaching me something new today. Or here the production quality keeps getting better and the educational content is, you mean, okay, this one is kind of obvious. I might have to actually change it, but these are just subtle comments that highlight once again that your videos are actually not just entertaining, but also teaching people something. And yeah, that's basically all about that. Yeah, what this node does, it gets the random comments, it selects 5 in this code node, then prepares the URLs. I mean, I'm using a server that's why it needs to prepare the URLs, and then it gives all those data, all those random comments, as well as the voiceover chunks and everything to our build transition filter node. And in this node, basically all of the magic happens, right? It prepares the render, and we have in this node all of this. Like, it then chooses our transitions. You have a small collection of transitions as well, and as I told you before, that's why we wanted to treat that intro separately, because then we are able to have multiple transitions for that intro part, whereas for the rest of the video we will just have one voiceover, one image, and then one transition. But for the intro part, it's 10-second image with the voiceover, then transition, then another image, then 10 seconds, then another transition, and so on. So it's actually structurally looking different from the rest of our video. Then we also have the CTA animation, which I also created a template for, and of course then the text animation intro, similar to what this channel does. I mean, the Revenge with Karen channel that I showed you earlier. And yeah, so to give you guys a better understanding of what it can actually look like in a rendered video, so I mean, that was very theoretical. So now let me actually show you what it can look like.
The phone vibrated against the mahogany of my home office desk at 7:02 a.m.
All right, already you can see, like, I need to move the camera a little bit. We have like this intro text animation, right? With no voiceover yet.
The phone vibrated
Then we have
against
the normal subtitles and
the mahogany of my home office desk at
the
7:02 a.m. Not a flutter that
and
made
then
my
we need to move
on the
a
Vienna
little bit
Conference
forward.
2012 tremble. I'd been up since 5:30
Also,
reviewing a
again,
merger
the
addendum,
transitions
the
every
quiet
10
hum of
seconds in your
dawn, my
image
most
for the
productive
intro
soundtrack.
part.
I knew who it was before I looked. No one else called this early. Not friends, not family.
Actually, there was no
Great.
transition.
Us now.
However, I want to show you one more
Vacant.
thing. Where is it?
Synthetic
Start
silk,
about here.
smooth
Yeah.
but utterly without gift.
Here's the comment thing
Mr.
that I
Thorne
told you
needs you
about.
in the executive boardroom at 8.
I'm doing like this comment of the day format, and it seems to work on my channels. So not only does this make for better engagement under your videos, because people are going to see this, and especially elderly people, they will get influenced by it and they want to get to the comment of the day too, right? So they will comment. And again, this is also highlighting on our educational value in that video.
8 a.m. sharp, alone.
So let me mute that real quick. And it's basically just 5 random comments that are getting shown. And after that, it's basically just a normal story, but in that educational value framing. So there's not really much of a difference going on. But also one thing, as you can see already, I've told you we don't want that template vibe. So we are not only blending in images and like you can even do AI videos, but we would still want some kind of randomness. So we will still add stock videos, for example, like this one. Again, I use Paxis, it's free. You can make 20,000 API requests per day for free and get free stock videos like this. It doesn't cost you anything. So it's actually cheaper than making images, even though the image generation is already pretty cheap by its own. Yeah, and that's basically it. The story goes on, and of course some stock videos are getting shown, and that's basically it. There's nothing more. Like, it's still a normal revenge story, but framed in a complete different context. And then, yeah, we have here the subtitles part, which you saw in that video just now. And this is basically it. Like, now we have successfully avoided the template vibe. Where is it? Here. We have avoided the template vibe throughout, like, with our editing, then the educational value framing plus the references, to ensure that we will never get demonetized that easily. And then also there's this pillar, which I didn't talk about yet, the don't spam, do not get greedy part, right? And this one is kind of, it's more like my own opinion, because there are plenty of people doing something else than I am doing. But basically, the most easy way, like the easiest way for YouTube to detect automation is if you are posting too much, right? Like, if you post 20 or even more than 5 videos, in my opinion, a day, you are sus to them, right? Because you can say you have a big team of editors, and that's what many people used to do in 2024 and early 2025, and it actually worked. Like, you could say in the review, in the appeal video, that you are just having a big team of editors that edit the videos for you. But trust me, that doesn't work anymore. And if anybody tells you that, they are just lying, because the YouTube team, they are evolving too, right? And they don't fall for that trap anymore. Like, they don't believe you if you say you have 10 editors. However, you might ask, there are still channels that post like even hundreds of videos a day, but these channels are typically like podcast channels or tutorial channels, and they don't really fall under that policy, because yes, they are spamming, but most of the time they are still giving massive amounts of educational value, as I just told you, like the tutorial videos niche. And it also is automatically then not a template, because they are still making the tutorial, right? They have to show you the process of fixing this and that. So these two things aren't really the case. And don't spam, that's why it's the third pillar, because it's not the most important one, right? It's actually the education value, then avoiding the template vibe, and then don't spam, don't be greedy. But if you just ignore all of them, you are getting demonetized 100%. Again, if you're doing at least this, the chances shrink by at least like 80 to 90%. Then avoid the template vibe too, which is like the last, I don't know, 8 to 9%. And then you have the, yeah, maybe even 5%, like the don't spam, do not get greedy part. Because if you just post too much, like, they will know, and they will see, and then they take a look at your content. And I would just not risk it, bro, because the easiest way, you could still post, like, if you want to post 9 videos a day, then just open 3 channels in that same niche and post 3 videos a day on each channel. That would be the same result or same outcome for you. And not only would you have then 3 separate channels, like, they are separate AdSenses and everything, which is generally also safer, but then you would also have like 3 chances to not get demonetized, right? So in my opinion, it only makes sense to post max 3 videos a day on one single channel. If you want to post more, just go for it, but I wouldn't recommend it. And yeah, again, you then have still 9 videos a day without any policy risks, right? And yeah, so much for that. So let's now kind of summarize what we have discussed today. Again, which my concept is based on all of those policies, which are basically now packed into this inauthentic content one. So the biggest problem we have with automations is like the similar content, right? And of course the inauthentic content, which means that there is no educational value in it. The educational value thing, I think we have discussed in detail now. You should understand what it consists of now. You have my prompts, you have my system, you can adapt it without any issues, right? So that would be it for the educational value. And you can even see it is like everywhere in their policies. Like they stated multiple times, so you just know it has a big worth for them. Yeah, right? This is exactly what I mean. This is like the most important pillar. Education value gets you the most. Then there is the template vibe. Again, we have dodged similar content with our database because every single video will be unique, every story will be unique, every angle is unique, and every lesson they can learn is unique, and videos will never repeat itself. That alone helps for the similar content. And also, we have this part right here, which ensures that every third video on our channel will be a complete separate one, and yep, basically like a complete purely educational based video. And yeah, that is also something that helps to avoid that template vibe. And again, they are looking at your main theme and the newest videos, and if every third video on your channel is like a complete another video, like not even the same thumbnail, ideally, you're safe, bro, and you are clearly giving out educational value. Then again, one more thing for the template and easily repeated at scale thing, we are having a separate intro, more images, stock images, all those transitions we have, call to action, comments that even emphasize on our education value as well. So we have a bunch of random factors that just make up for it, that just make it so that it doesn't look like a template, right? And that's basically it. Like, again, intros and outros can be the same if the bulk of your content is different. And each video, like they stated here, talks specifically about the qualities of the subject you're featuring. And yeah, we are doing that by default because our stories are in general like featuring just one subject, right? Just one woman or man or whatever, basically. And yeah, then we again have this extra layers for security. So again, I'm using the system for around 2 weeks now, and I didn't have any problems since I adapted that system. And just one more thing, because I want to be completely transparent with you. In my first part of this video, before I took that little break, I told you that this channel most likely won't be demonetized within the next month. But yeah, it actually looks like he has just been demonetized because he's not posting anymore. And of course, I wouldn't still be making this video and teaching you some lies if I didn't actually make my research. And I actually went along and watched even more of his videos. And especially his newest videos are kind of like, in his older videos, he actually had this thing of education and value, at least a little bit. So I just assumed he was safe. But now it actually looks like he has left that concept of education value. And I mean, if you have the time, watch one of his videos and you will understand there is not much educational value left in his videos. I mean, I don't know why he stopped doing it, because he clearly was safe. He has 1K videos uploaded, but now it very much looked like he got demonetized. So I just wanted to show you that too, because even I'm a human, like I can even make mistakes. And yeah, I just wanted to be transparent with you in case anybody is looking up the channel and then commenting under this video, oh, you're teaching lies, it's not working. Guys, I'm adapting the system and it works, at least for me. And I've told you, try it yourself, bring your own twist even to it, and then you should be safe, bro. Like, at least try it, because again, if you don't adapt, it will eventually consume you and you will eventually get demonetized or lose your channel, get terminated, whatever, bro. Either you go with the flow, you adapt, because time moves on, YouTube moves on, new policies will get created eventually, and who knows for how long this all will be working, right? Maybe in 2 months I need to do another video talking about a different concept. So use your time, spend your time wisely, and again, thanks for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. I've got some interesting things planned for the next videos, and thank you guys very much for watching. Have a good night.